Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Joy here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 325 of the current situation. And it's a bad day for the job market here in Spain, with a couple of 100,000 jobs destroyed in the month of January, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to everybody that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, let's get into the news. And as I said, January has been a terrible month when it comes to job destruction here in Spain. We can see from this headline, January destroys 218,953 jobs and unemployment rises by 76,216 people in the middle of the third wave of the virus. Registered unemployment in Spain has reached 3,964,353 people. 218,953 jobs lost and 76,216 new unemployed. This is the cost that the first blows of the third wave of the pandemic have left in the labour market, according to the figures released this Tuesday by the Ministries of Social Security and Labour. An impact that, although it does not stand out for having increased its virulence and is consistent with the latest figures for the pandemic months, does warn that until the virus disappears, the economy will continue to receive attacks month after month. So a huge amount of jobs lost in January, some 76,000 people more unemployed, and all of this due, as we saw in the article, to the third wave of the coronavirus here in Spain. And the terrible health situation around the country is also leading various parts of Spain to cancel their annual celebrations. Navarra has just announced that the San Fermines for this year will not be held. The president of Navarra, Maria Chivite, announced this Tuesday that this year's San Fermines will not be possible. It is difficult to celebrate San Fermin in 2021. It is not my responsibility to encourage hopes that I don't think will be able to be fulfilled, she asserted. The third wave continues its advance in Spain, with an ICU bed occupancy rate of more than 50% in 7 autonomous communities. The Ministry of Health added 79,686 new infections on Monday since Friday and reported 762 deaths. So the San Fermin festival, the running of the bulls, the most famous festival here in Spain, I would say, cancelled for the second year running. But yet we saw in the video 2 days ago that the tourism minister here in Spain, Ms. Maroto, is confident that there will be national tourism up and running again by Easter. And as somebody mentioned yesterday, is this exuberant optimism or shameless ignorance? I'll let you decide. Now, as we know, around the country, various autonomous communities are increasing restrictions on a daily basis, but one autonomous community has decided to buck that trend. No points for guessing who it is. And as we can see here, Madrid will expand the number of diners per table allowed at outdoor seating areas, and they have made masks mandatory inside bars and restaurants. The Madrid community will decree this Friday the mandatory use of masks inside bars and restaurants as a preventative measure against the coronavirus, and will expand the number of diners allowed per table at outside seating areas from 4 to 6. Also, the government of Ms. Díaz Ayuso, the Madrid Premier, has promised to extend as soon as possible, and if the incidence data rate improves, the curfew to 12 o'clock at night, as reported by the regional government, in its effort to try to find measures that balance health and the economy. In Madrid, we are doing everything in our power to keep our hospitality and culture open, despite the political impulses that come to us from all the other government institutions, said Díaz Ayuso, who has committed to reinforcing information on the possibility of home delivery of food. So there we go, other regions around Spain, for example Galicia, trying to get the curfew brought forward to 6 p.m, but here in Madrid they want to push it back to 12 midnight. No wonder people from other European countries are coming to Madrid looking for freedom. Now, as we know, there's been a few problems with the vaccination plan here in Spain and other European countries in recent times, but a few politicians around the country, most notably Pedro Sánchez, still think that we can achieve group immunity here in Spain by the end of summer. But one media outlet here in Spain is asking the question, is it possible to reach the summer with 70% of the Spanish population vaccinated and achieve group immunity? As we know, the central government insists that the plan objective can still be reached. The new Minister of Health, Carolina Darias, reiterated this Monday that the goal is to ensure that 80% of people over 80 years of age and health personnel are immunised against the coronavirus at the latest in March, and that 70% of the entire adult population will be vaccinated no later than next summer. However, from the scientific field, they do not see it so clearly, because achieving that group immunity implies the vaccination of 33 million people, all of them at double doses. The pace has to increase a lot, said Joan Cailà, of the Spanish Epidemiology Society when speaking to a TV newscast. He also said that he believes it is feasible but not easy. So there we go, the jury is still out on whether 70% of the population can be vaccinated by the summer. Now let's have a look at the health data around Spain by looking at a map of the country and various autonomous communities. We'll start here with a map of the country, and we can see that countrywide the risk level is extreme. The total amount of cases now cracking the 2.8 million mark. The accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days now sitting at 865. There have been 1,534 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days. Hospital pressure, we can see that there are 32,023 patients currently hospitalised with COVID around Spain, and there are 4,894 patients in ICUs, which is just over 45% of all ICUs in the country. We'll take a look at one of Spain's main hotspots now, the Rioja region, and we can see that the risk level there is also extreme. The total amount of cases, the AI rate for the last 14 days, 1,304, 25 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days, 252 people currently hospitalised in the Rioja region with COVID, and there are 62 people in ICUs, which is 71% of all ICUs in the Rioja region. The Valencian community now, another hotspot. We can see the risk level there is also extreme. The total amount of cases, the AI rate now seeing at 1,352, 391 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days, 5,207 people currently hospitalised in Valencia, and there are 787 COVID patients in ICUs, which is just over 63% of all ICU beds in the Valencian community. Now, back to the news, and we all know that the economy is not going very well here in Spain. We saw an interview yesterday with Pablo Iglesias, one of the key politicians in Spain at the moment, and he was talking about possibly nationalising companies if he had the power to do so. Well, his political party is back in the news today, and we can see that they are asking the Economy Minister, Ms. Calviño, to activate a package of direct aid to companies to mitigate the crisis. Several socialist ministers admit that this idea is on the table, but the Economy Ministry does not see it as viable. So the plan to mitigate the wave of business insolvencies is on the table, but the Economy Ministry doesn't see it as viable. So how many more businesses are going to disappear in the next 12 months because of a lack of government help? Now, I'm starting a new segment today. It's called Idiot of the Week, and the very first Idiot of the Week is a denialist who sneaked into the Miranda del Ebro hospital and entered forbidden areas to record the big lie. An anti-vaccine denier last Friday sneaked into the Santiago Apostle Hospital in Miranda del Ebro, Burgos, and travelled from waiting rooms to restricted areas to health personnel, rooms and operating rooms for 17 minutes while recording continuously. The man, who then posted his video on Facebook, thus intended to dismantle the great lie of the COVID-19 situation in Castilla y León, and more specifically in Miranda. According to him, the president of Castilla y León had referred to this municipality as a great focus area. The images obviously do not dismantle anything, but they do demonstrate the lack of security and access controls in hospitals. So there we go, today's Idiot of the Week, somebody that decided to rattle the old chestnut of empty hospitals, go into a hospital in Burgos, film the event, post it to Facebook, and tried to dismantle the great lie. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of people like this man still after 1 year trying to tell us that this is all a big hoax and that hospitals are empty. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from recent videos. First one here from David. Re-international travel, it's not ignorance, it's hope. I hope to travel this year, but I'm completely aware that this might not be possible. However, if there is the opportunity to travel, I want to be prepared to do so. With the vaccine rollout happening, I think we will be in a much better position soon. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment. I mentioned yesterday that I think a lot of people are pinning their hopes on being able to travel again soon. It is something that a lot of people are missing. A lot of people are desperate to come to places like Spain, Greece, Italy, get a little bit of sun on their bodies and take away those winter blues. And you're right, it all does depend on the vaccine rollout and the success of those vaccines. I don't think there's been a lot of information published on the success of the vaccination plans, considering that a lot of countries around the world are not very advanced in that plan. I think Israel is the only country that has more than 50% of the population vaccinated. So we'll wait and see what the results coming out of that country are, and then we'll probably be able to take some decisions. One here from Paul. Well, I had my vaccine on Saturday as I do care work and have not grown 2 heads and don't glow in the dark, and I think we will all need the vaccine before before we start travelling. Yeah, Paul, thanks for the comment, and good to see that you were dismantling some of the myths surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine. We saw the story there of a denier, an anti-vaxxer, somebody who went into a hospital and tried to prove that this is all a hoax. And unfortunately, there are more people like him running around. You only have to read the comment section on these videos some days to realise that is the case. However, it is a minority, and the sooner we get the health situation under control, the sooner we can stop reading comments from people like that. One here from Mark: I can confirm that a lot of people here in London are keen to get away on holiday as soon as they are vaccinated fully. The half dose doesn't protect so much. A lot of pent-up demand for holiday in the sun, probably the same across Northern Europe. Yeah, Mark, thanks for the comment. I was reading the other day, I don't know whether it was in a comment on the channel or in some type of press, that there is a lot of pent-up demand for holidays in the south of Europe this year. I think I read that holidays to places like Spain are up 250% in the UK, and I'm sure that is the case in other European countries as well, especially the ones in the north where people are sick and tired of the winter. But as you mentioned here, and as we saw in that previous comment, it's all going to depend on vaccinations. One here from David: I can't understand how bad it actually is in Spain. Restaurants open, schools open, 10 p.m. curfew. Seems as if Spain is doing remarkably well compared to the rest of us. France with 6 p.m. curfew, and here in the UK where everything is closed. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment. There's a popular cliche here in Spain that people love to roll out every now and again, and it is that Spain is different. And that definitely seems to be the case with what's going on here in Spain. As you know, we have 17 autonomous communities, and each of those 17 autonomous communities is handling the situation differently. We've got some places that have an early curfew. We've got some places where bars and restaurants are completely closed. We've got other places where gyms are closed. Catalonia, bars open in the morning, then at lunchtime, and then again in the evening. And here in Madrid, everything is open. And as we saw before, the Premier of Madrid wants to push the curfew back to 12 midnight. So it is a bit strange, and compared to the rest of Europe, things are certainly different here in Spain. But I can guarantee that the health situation is as bad as other European countries, if not worse than other European countries at the moment. One here from Jacqueline: Hi Stuart, many thanks again for an interesting report. I'm doing my best to learn Spanish and enjoy trying to understand the newspaper headlines prior to you giving the translation. I learned something surprising today to see that trimester is a quarter of a year. Being a midwife, this term is used to denote a third of a pregnancy, first, second and third trimester. It would not be a term used in standard English to denote a quarter of a year. Is it acceptable in Spain to refer to a quarter of a year as a trimester? Many thanks, Jacqueline, UK. Yeah, Jacqueline, thanks for the comment. The simple answer is yes. Here in Spain, they refer to a 3-month period as a trimester, 6-month period as a semester. Now, I know that in English-speaking countries, we don't normally use those terms. We talk about school terms, for example, rather than school semester. Trimester, as you mentioned, is normally used during pregnancy. And the word quarter is quite often used nowadays, especially in a business sense, to talk about that first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter results when it comes to the economy or business earnings. But here in Spain, as I said, you will quite often hear the word trimestre and also semestre when we're talking about a 6-month period. One here from Patricia: Hi Stuart, thank you once again. As far as getting back to normal, I don't think that will happen until we get vaccinated. It's like being on a swing. We just go up and down. One minute we can move around Andalusia, the next we're confined. I just hope for the sanity of those people who are living with families in very small places, the vaccine gets to them soon. If people don't die of COVID, there's a risk of many suffering from mental illness. People who are not making money must be getting desperate to support themselves and their families. So very sad. Yeah, Patricia, thanks for the comment. You're right, it is like being on a swing in a playground at the moment. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. We have restrictions, they get taken away, they come back again, then they get taken away again. Then the case numbers go up, then they come down. And that's what we have been living for the last 12 months. And you are right also when you say that this is most likely taking a toll on people's mental health. I know that I sometimes struggle to deal with the situation, especially when I think about the effect on the economy, all of those businesses going bad, people losing their jobs. And it is difficult when you're living in Spain, working in this economy and wondering how we are going to make ends meet in 12 months' time. Those are things that can cause anxiety and worry amongst the population. And the longer this goes on for, the worse it's going to be. So as I said before, let's hope that they can get this vaccination into the population as soon as possible. And finally, one here from Pete A. Stuart: what's your opinion on moving to Spain in 2021? Is it a bad idea as there is an impending economic crisis? I'm 29, speak multiple languages fluently, and have a science degree. My Spanish is at the A2 level. Yeah, Pete, thanks for the comment. I don't think moving to Spain in 2021 is a bad idea. It all depends on where you're going to be moving to and what you're going to be doing. If you're going to be depending on the Spanish economy, it might not be a good idea because, as we know, things are not looking good at the moment. Unemployment is quite high, so I wouldn't recommend that. But if you're able to make money overseas, if you're able to live here but not depend on the economy for your income, and if you don't mind having to put up with the restrictions until possibly the end of the year, then moving to Spain is probably not a bad idea. But again, it depends on what you're going to be doing. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.